Jess, are you ready? Yeah. Okay. All right. We will open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will open with public comments. Actually, Jess, if you could give me the sign-in sheet that I did see that Michael Gaynor, you signed up first, so you can start us off.
Hello, Mike Gaynor, 8 Cobbitts Lane. Been here in a while. I wanted to start by having a town where I did it. I had to listen to this for about 3 hours on Saturday. Sylvester Manor Educational Farm decided to have a concert that they hosted over there for a couple of hundred people. This is how secret this thing was. They sold tickets on Eventbrite. It was a sold out show. The reason Sylvester Manor did that, because back in June, you guys allowed them to have an event there that they have every year, their farm to table event, which is not a permitted use there. There's 2 things you can do in a AA zone. You can have a single family residence or you can farm. That's it. And they can't even have a single family residence because they're not a single family. And so you allowed them to do that and you gave them an exemption from the noise permit, and then they went ahead, they still played the music. They played it all night long. I had Baby Chief Reed over at my house and I talked to him, he went and looked at it, and I had him.
Hi, you mean Officer?
Yeah, Officer Reed, yeah. It's just a friendly name between him and I. And then he came over again on Saturday, he heard the same thing. They continued to do all of these uses over there. They had a film, they had a drive-in movie over there, basically, a couple of weeks ago. This stuff is in the paper constantly. They had a Shakespeare play. They had a sculpture garden. These are all functions of a not-for-profit educational farm. They don't have a permit for that. You've seen these around town, right? You know what that's for? That's for them to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get a permit, a special permit over there. And they've been allowed to operate in this community for a decade when everybody else gets in trouble for everything else that we all do around here. You guys are passing legislation to limit the size of houses. You're going to tell people how big a house they can have. You're going to tell people how tall their house can do. You're putting inside a pyramid law for that. The way that this manor is being treated inside of this community, it's a slap in the face to everybody around here. It makes your job harder. It makes the cops' job harder when you guys don't take enforcement action against them. You know my background in dealing with municipalities and local government all throughout the United States. If you were anybody else, Amber, I would swear you were taking a payoff from these guys, because that event, that farm to table event that went on for 3 hours, they raised $500,000 in 3 hours. And you allowed them to do that. And you should not have allowed them to do that. This event is another fundraising event. This is the same group of people that you guys signed off to give them $2,055,000 to purchase development rights that shouldn't have taken place. Last week, I was contacted by a member of this community who was contacted by Special Agent John Janis from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who was looking into local elected and appointed officials with respect to things that are going inside of this town. Now, I'm going to reach out to Special Agent Janis this week and share all of this information with him as well. And so what I would like to get, I'm going to reach out to Ms. Wilson later this week. I'd like to get a copy of the violations that you're going to issue to these folks for doing these things that they're not supposed to be doing. It's a real problem. Thank you very much.
Next person who had signed up was Tom Ickes.
Yeah, hi. I'm here to address the issue where you had 505 people sign a petition requesting that the recycling center reopen the C and D and metal pile. And I just had a few comments in thinking over this whole situation. And I guess the first one is that you have Mr. Lewis's, the highway superintendent's point of view that he's presented to you. But there are always two or more points of view. You can't listen to one point of view and take it as a fact. You can get other points of view that may dispute the one that you have been listening to, okay? And also, last time I spoke here, I had a 70-page agreement that the town had made with the state of New York and the DEC on how the recycling center should be run. And you also received funds based on that contract. And just out of curiosity, I'd like, don't raise your hand, but I'm just wondering how many of you read that 70-page contract that regulates how the recycling center is supposed to be run?
This is a contract with who? Is this a contract with who?
Do I have it with me?
No, I'm sorry, what?
Are you talking about the solid waste management plan?
Yeah, the town of Shelter Island Solid Waste Management Plan. It's over 70 pages, but the meat of it is 70 pages. And it describes what the DEC expects and how the recycling center should be run. And just out of curiosity, because people say things, but I wonder if you actually read the contract to see what you're supposed to do. Okay, I'm just throwing that out. Another thing that I've heard Mr. Lewis complain about, one of the things is an insurance letter that he oftentimes complained to me about. Within the last few years, the people on Shelter Island who live within a certain distance of the water have also received letters from their insurance companies. Sometimes their rates have gone up 200-300%. Sometimes the insurance company says they want to drop the homeowner. Now, the homeowner didn't just accept this. They looked into it and they tried to fix the situation so they could afford their homeowner's insurance, maybe contact a different company, but they took action. They didn't just say, hey, I got a letter from the insurance company and I'm in trouble now, which they did something about it. Another thing I heard Mr. Lewis say was he was concerned about pieces of wood with nails sticking out of them. Those pieces of wood with nails sticking out of them are present when people unload their vehicles. They don't disappear into the wood when somebody's standing there unloading the vehicle in the C and D, and then pop back up if a picker comes up. They're all the time. People unloading have that danger. But that's one of the things Mr. Lewis is worried about. And a very important thing I'd like to address is I usually don't talk about conversations, personal ones I have with people. However, there wasn't anything really personal said. So about 5 days ago, I was going down Bowditch Road. Mr. Lewis was getting off of work. And I figured I'd like to present something to him. So I flagged him down. And I said, hey, look, let's talk about the problems you have. Let's talk about the concerns you have. Let's work together and see if we can make things safer so your workers feel better and so you feel better. And he basically blew it off like he didn't even want to discuss it. And so I said, well, look, let's just say something happens and the board decides something and you have to discuss it. Can we talk about it? because there's certain situations down there that I would say are unacceptable, you would say they're unacceptable. You have people like in a dump truck who'll pull up there for 4 hours at a time, they'll park in an unloading bin, block it from anybody who wants to unload, make a nuisance of themselves, make it hard for the workers at the recycling center. I mean, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. So let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of people parking and blocking off the workers, people parking in areas they shouldn't for extended period of times, make it more efficient and safe for the workers and for everybody. I don't know what other concerns he has, but I'm sure that the pickers and you, we can talk with Mr. Lewis, listen to his concerns, and try and come up with a solution that everybody can work with. The other thing is, now I was down here last Saturday morning. I had a job, somebody wanted me to throw away a couple of metal grills for them. So I went down there very early, about 7:45, threw out the grills. A commercial fisherman pulled up next to me to throw out some metal. After he threw off his metal, he goes, "Oh, look at this." He saw some sash weights. He goes, "This is just what I need to weigh down my fish traps." He goes, "I can't even buy it. They don't even make these anymore." And I guess there were no cameras, nobody was looking at him, so he got away with it. He took the sash weights. I'm glad for him. He can't even buy those anymore. He was reusing, which is the purpose of a recycling center, is to reuse. And I did another sort of, and the other thing about the pickers is, I personally have seen many times where pickers will go in there. They'll see metal in the C and D. They'll see styrofoam in the metal. They'll take it upon themselves to move it where it's supposed to be on their own, because they're grateful that they can go in there. So they feel if they see something wrong there. Many times, people have taken propane tanks that have been small ones, 20-gallon ones. They've been thrown into the metal pile. People take them, put them off to the side and tell the workers, "Hey, here's a propane tank." So it kind of wasn't a one-way street. People who were serious about it worked with the town and tried to, make things work better. Another thing Mr. Lewis said to me in that very brief meeting I had with him on the side of the road was about the metal, that the town, how can I let people go in the metal pile? We make money off of that. It's true that they have a contract with Gershow, a commercial account. And it's true that they probably do get a check from Gershow for the metal. But I did a quick calculation, and the tanker truck driver told me that it costs $180 to take North Ferry for an 18-wheel truck. So there's $180 gone. I'm estimating it takes round trip 5 hours for the driver. I'm estimating it takes about 7 hours to load the container and push the material out there, and that's being conservative. So you have another 12 hours. With the per-hour pay plus the pension benefits, health benefits, all the days off, I'm estimating about $70 an hour. Eventually, it's going to cost the town per hour. So now you have $1,000 right there. So it's not all pure profit. And the other thing is, in that contract with the state DC, the purpose of the recycling center is to recycle and reuse. Okay, the key is to reuse. The small amount of metal that is taken out of there and reused is a very, it's a fraction, very small fraction of the total amount of metal that gets sent to Gershow Recycling. So I just want to address that issue. Because the key thing is, that agreement that you have with the state is to recycle. And the number one way to recycle is to reuse something. Like that fisherman said, where I saw him that morning, I can't even buy these sash weights anymore if I want them. Okay, and the last thing, which, I just want to bring to your attention in case there's some kind of absolute deadlock. Mr. Lewis does not have to be the commissioner for the recycling center. It can be anyone duly appointed representative of the town board. So that's, Mr. Lewis was elected highway superintendent. He was not elected as the commissioner of the recycling center. In case it comes to loggerheads and, you just can't deal with things. Okay, so that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who has any comments for the public session? All right, I saw a man in the back. Next. So if you'd come forward. And then Chris, you'll be after that.
Yes, my name is David Irving, resident here. I just have two issues have to do with parking. One is at Manhattan Lane, which is beach parking. This year, I think we all noticed for the first time, you have QR codes where people can come for the day, pay over their phone and park. And the parking is filling up so that residents can't park. And I'm sort of feel like chopped liver that we can't go to the beach because there's not enough parking there. I'd like it either to see if you could expand the parking. Going up the right side, I'm always told that it's for the fire trucks to get down to the beach. But I don't know why fire trucks need to be on the beach, but I'm sure they do for some reason or the other. And then the QR codes were put on the signs for this summer. Why? My first question, why? When it was already really hard to park there. I guess it's money for the town, which, but it's just, I think the residents ought to get some say, some ability to park there when we go to the beach, and it's just impossible to park there now on summer weekends, let's say. And so I think the QR code should go, is what I'd like, but I'd also like to see if there's a way you can expand parking there so that residents who come can park and go to the beach. It's also the only beach I think you really have dogs off the leash, which is another reason it gets busy. And then the second issue is a different location. It's at the North Ferry, the parking there. And the parking lot's constantly full, and it seems a lot of the reason it's full is there are a lot of contractors' trucks left there to save on it. And while we all need and use contractors on the island, and it's great they come on, there again should be some say for residents for parking there, it just seems. Residents who pay taxes and you can't park there anymore. Every time you go to drop the car off, and then you want to go, let's say, to Greenport, it's just full. And as I drive around and look, there are all sorts of contractor trucks that seem to be parked overnight there. So that's the other issue. Those are the two issues I wanted to bring up. And then I have one question about the signs for the QR code with the QR codes. Those just went up. Who decides that? In the town government, who decides just to put up a sign for QR codes?
That would have been done with the police chief, because he's in charge of the TCO parking enforcement. And I don't know, Ken, you get involved in that, and Amber, you're also.
We've had them, the QR codes, for about 3 years. So this summer, it's only changed face because we changed different vendors. But they have been there for at least 2 to 3 years that I know of that I've
They
been
have?
working.
Where were they on?
So before it was, I can't remember the vendor now off the top of my head. We switched to Park Mobile,
Right. Yeah, from.
but
Are you sure? Haven't seen them, but I mean,
Yes, they
you're
are.
telling me they're there, then they were, but like, do you know where or you don't?
Chief Reed is zooming in, so Chief, do you want to?
Yeah, so Mr. Irving, if I have that correct, we can definitely take a look at what you're suggesting. Although we allow QR codes there, we don't allow the whole beach to be QR coded. So our primary purpose is what you suggest, that we give priority to residents. So we'll reevaluate how many spots we have at Manhattan Lane based on this conversation. Bo Payne, for the most part, with input from me, we decide how many we're going to allow. I mean, by far, we allow the most QR spots at Wade's Beach.
Right.
And that's based on years of us looking at parking and not limiting parking to our residents. So we can take a look at Manhattan Lane. It's a great suggestion. But what I'm going to tell you is we probably only allow a couple of spots via QR code. But Manhattan Lane has been a QR coded spot for at least a couple of years.
Okay, I know, I didn't realize that. Thank you. Is there any way, is it Suffolk, the land where there was a new small parking lot just put up over the last year or two? Is there any way to expand that up the hill, or is that privately owned by that house? I mean, could you go up there a little, in and up a little more possibly, or is that Suffolk County land? Who owns that land? If you would expand the new parking lot that was put in, in a bit. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kenny, you might be able to speak to that a little bit better, but I'm not opposed to taking a look at Manhattan Lane. But I can tell you, I see probably Supervisor Sherman sitting in the audience there. We got to, he was ducking. We got to no parking on the shoulders of the road there based on complaints from the neighbors and that it extended too far up the road. I think there's some real history at Manhattan Lane that we probably should take a look at, but I don't mind taking a look at that other parking lot with the highway superintendent to see if we can make it more workable for everybody.
Right. Yeah, the person in the house at the top of the lane has come down to the beach and asked me to move off the beach because it's privately owned a couple of times over the years. So there is issues with that person. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much.
And with respect to the North Ferry parking, that's controlled by the North Ferry and the Shelter Island Heights Property Owners Corporation. I do see that two employees from there are on. So if you go and talk to them, they can explain to you exactly how the rules work down there.
So that's privately owned by.
The Heights Association. And I'll look at the parking area for the county, that walking path that's through there. We installed that for with the little fenced off area, and then we had that parking, and I can ask, what it's allowed to be used for and what it's not. If it's something that can be expanded, we could expand it to make some more space if there's room for it. But I just have to check with them if that's okay to do it, or if there's a way you can park in front of it okay without it being a no parking area. Maybe it has to stay open for people to have access to the trails back through there, but I could get some clarification for you if you'd like.
Well, thank you. Is there any way to maybe go up on the right side, not all the way up near that house, but up through, to the end of the parking lot? I mean, up maybe to that, where the new parking lot over here was instituted on this side? I mean, that would bring up a lot of.
Yeah, you mean to move it a little west, move the parking area up a
You're
little.
saying, going up, no, I'm saying the right side, when you're coming down the left side, you can't park it all on the left side, all the way down the beach. Is there any way to expand parking there up some of the way, or does the homeowners there have this right?
I think they have this, I can talk to the chief about it. I think we can take a look at it. I'm not sure where I think there's a pretty straight delineation where their property line stops there with There's a fence that's right there. I know the only concern as you get closer to the beach is that town landing that's there, and that's for a fire truck to have access in the event that they had to pump water out of the bay to do that. So,
Water, gotcha.
yeah, so that's what that's usually for. But so, I don't know how, we'd have to just look at how much room they need down there to stay open, but we can take a look at it, and there might be some space to move up that hill a little.
Like 10 or 15 there, yes. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Chief, when you look at the number of parking spaces at Manhattan Lane, can you also look at the number of spaces that you allow at Crescent Beach? Because I've gotten numerous complaints this year that residents can't find parking at Crescent Beach, and as they're looking down the line, they don't see any town beach stickers on the cars, or for every one town beach sticker, there's 7 non-stickered vehicles. Just double check and make sure that we still have that restricted the way we did in the past.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more familiar with Crescent than Manhattan on our use. So one of the other things thinking about Manhattan is sometimes the QR codes offer more information about the beach area. But at Crescent, we do not allow paid parking on the weekends. So the only time we allowed paid parking at Crescent is Monday through Friday. So I would say that I'd be surprised that during the week that there would be a problem with it being filled. But we can definitely look at that again too. But on the weekends, we don't allow paid parking.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, Chris Diorio. I do actually want to say that the point about the parking at Manhattan is very true. And on the weekend, every day, people are parked past the part where you're allowed to park anymore, but that's whatever. I agree with that. I'm not here to talk about that. I am here to just reiterate my opinion that I really think that we should be opening up picking again at the construction and demolition and the scrap metal pile. I hope that we're about to see a presentation on how the goodie pile is going to be better than it is. I just have a couple comments in relation to that. Several years ago, they changed the hours for the goodie pile. It's 10 to noon and 2 to 4. And this was presented as a thing that the folks working at the dump would be monitoring the goodie pile, which is basically a thing that doesn't happen. And I think that if there is a monitoring, that seems fine, but it should actually happen. And I think if not, one thing that could really make the goodie pile a better thing is to expand the hours. The other thing, or I guess a couple other things, I think it would be great to be able to see more things in the goodie area. And, I think a lot of these things that people have been getting from the now closed off picking area are things that are desperately missing. I feel like one of the examples has been the piece of wood for a home project. I literally just completed a project that I was able to not go buy a $50 piece of wood for because I was able to just take the thing that I had gotten at the dump in the past. And I do think that that's, a shame that we have lost access to that. I do think it is a really important resource that helps many, many people. And don't remember what the other thing I was going to say was. I feel like one of the other issues with the goodie pile is that all the time, all the stuff is just thrown out. It depends on the day, but many days at the end of the day, it's all just thrown out. And really what that does is makes it so that there's not and in my eyes, I envision the goodie pile could be something basically like a well-organized place that has all sorts of different categories of things that you can go and get. And lots of those things, just because someone doesn't take it that day, it doesn't mean that someone can't take it down the road and that it's not useful. So I think the constant clearing out of the goodie pile is a big problem. And there's a lot of good stuff that could stick around that would get used that's just getting thrown out. but look forward to hearing what you're saying here, Ken. But I do definitely want to reiterate that I think we've lost an important resource by losing the picking. And I think the liability of it is well worth it in terms of how many people benefit from it. Thank you.
And Kelsey, when I think about like what's going on in relation to the economy, I'm compared to a lot of people in this island, like I'm poor. I work my ass off and I'm really trying hard to climb that ladder to really get the things that like a house or to be able to afford a new car or these basic things. But me climbing that ladder also adds character to this island. The people come to our farm stand, they have a relationship with our farm, they like that we're young and they like that, you know, we're climbing that ladder. You know how I was able to climb that ladder with Chris? It's because of the C&D. Our tables that we propagate every single seed are made with dock wood that we got, like really hardy dock wood that would have been 12 feet long, that would have been like $100 each. That's gonna last us for the next 20 years. All our metal shelving at the farm is from there. Like the article in the Reporter said for our house, which is like very true, but it's mostly our farm. I went around and I took photos of everything that is from the goodie pile, metal tables, wood, shelving, all the tools. And I just feel like I don't see that at the goodie pile. I don't get to like go and like see it at the C&D. And most people like that work for the town don't even make a living wage that can buy you a house, right? So like if we don't have a resource that it can at least like get you something for your house, right? Like what are we doing for them? Telling them just keep working hard and like one day you'll get it when the median price of a house is 2.1? Like to me, I'm just like, it doesn't have to be like this. The goodie pile could be totally epic. You could have a beautiful sign that says books, a beautiful sign that says clothing. There's towns, you go to Vashon Island in Washington, they have a huge free store that's highly organized, that has like the amount of cashmere sweaters that I've gotten there. Like you could have the collection. People could get whatever they want. Like it's trickle down economics kind of only exists on Shelter Island. And we should be, if that's going to be the whole basis behind capitalism, we should really like encourage that, you know? And then my last point is, and I don't mean this to be dramatic, I just want to say it, is two things is, Ben, I've been the last meeting and this meeting, you don't really pay that much attention to the people that are talking. You're on your computer or your phone. And Albert, you are looking at us, but I don't see you taking any notes. And I just feel like people deserve your attention. And I feel like they're not getting them. And that's like one thing that I just like look for, is the town board giving the full attention, you know, because I really need to see that from you guys. And in the end, the world that we live in doesn't need to be like this, and the goodie pile and the C&D does not need to be as it is. I understand as a business person wanting to organize everything so that it's like, no problem, no drama, no nothing. Like if it's all set in stone, then it's gonna work perfect, but it doesn't. So there's other ways to work around it, and like it can be done. Just put rules. Let people pick. It's a really awesome thing, and if you've never experienced it, like I highly recommend it. Very fun.
Bob DiNardo, 28 East Brainerd Parkway. I just want to read a letter that I gave into the clerk's office last week sometime. I want the public to hear it. I have been picking at the Shelter Island Town landfill since 1983. What fun it has been, and us pickers are also doing a service as we are reusing, repurposing, saving money, and we are not being part of the disposable society that exists and fills up landfills. The following is a list of items and the approximate cost. that it has saved me in the last year and a half or so. Pressure treated lumber for a firewood rack and sawbuck, $400. Hardy board shingles, $450. Half-inch birch plywood, $140. Assorted lag bolts, $200. Drywall screws, $300. Fence hardware, $200. A Bosch table saw, brand new with the stand, $550. A John Deere 48-inch riding mower, which I cut my lawn with, $2,400. Gas chainsaws, $500. Gas leaf blowers, $300. Leaf mulcher, $80. Electric hammer drills, $450. A Pexto bench plate, $950. Jigsaws, $300. A crate and barrel chair that was brand new, somebody threw out, $900. 3/4-inch CDX plywood, $100. Assorted carriage bolts, $200. Stainless steel hardware, $400. Brass hardware, $300. Werner ladders, $800. A DeWalt Sable table saw with a stand. Contractor's portable saw, $500. Reel mowers, $200. Electric chainsaws, $200. Electric leaf blowers, $150. A Bosch demolition hammer, $750 used, which I was able to sell. Pexto box and pan brake, $2,200. Cordless drill and drivers, $700. Electric sanders, $300. Half-inch EMT conduit, $100. And Hoot and I grabbed the Bilco doors. He grabbed 2 pair and I grabbed the other one. And he approximated $1,500. We helped each other load them up in our trucks. This is just a short list from the year and a half. And I want to present to you, Amber, something I got from the construction and demolition pile. It's a paperweight with a quote from Winston Churchill, the great Winston Churchill, and it says, "Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen." And I present that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. We haven't met.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Is there anyone else in the physical? Okay, come on up.
I didn't plan on speaking today. I'm Maury Laspia, 18 Cobbetts Lane. I want to address a couple of things. The primary thing is this quote-unquote fire that was at the dump. There was no fire. What happened was a tank was laying there, old tank, okay? And you would assume that it had come across the scale, it had been inspected, and was told to be dumped there. So I went to take this valve off of it, and this gas started spewing out, okay? So I immediately walked back to the shop, the shed there, and Ronnie Jerner comes out with a video phone and is taking videos of the whole thing, of the gas escaping, for about 5 minutes. When it was all done and over, he said, "I think I'll call the fire department." I said, "Why? It's empty." He goes, "It's my job, get out of here." So there was no fire. There certainly wasn't a need for every single fire truck and personnel on Shelter Island to respond, which even creates more of a hazard on the road, to tell you the truth. And it's been it's like public knowledge that I created this fire at the dump. It's just misinformation to take the eye off the ball of where the real problem lay. The tank came in, whoever is in charge didn't do their job and had been laying there. And as I wrote a letter to the reporter, in short order, that would have been obscured with all kinds of other lounge chairs and whatever else gets dumped. And the guy hitting it with the payloader, pushing it forward, that's where the danger is, of scraping that thing across the ground. And that's where an explosion is most. And then if it didn't happen then, when they go to load up the tractor trailer and pick it up and crunch it into the trailer, it's amazing if it. So anyways, that's that. Another thing about the whole picking pile, when I was a little kid, about 12 years old, 10 years old, somebody I knew got a new bicycle. And I asked my father if I could get a new bicycle. He said, "You want a bike? You go to the dump and build one." So we only lived right up the street. I started collecting bike parts, and I had a little bike shop, so to speak. I had all kinds of frames and tires. And I learned so much about mechanics, how things are built, how to put things together. It instilled a sense of pride. It's just unbelievable that this is taken away. And the other thing I just wanted to say is last week I was driving through, a perfectly good wheelbarrow is sitting at the metal pile, just waiting to be crunched up. And they cost minimum $250. It's just, and it's some of these people who don't even know that this new ruling is in effect, set things off to the side, figuring somebody else is gonna come and take it like it's always been. They don't know that it's gonna be crushed. Because the wheelbarrow was set in such a position that they put it off slightly to the side as if somebody was gonna, get it in. But that wasn't gonna happen. And the other day, a friend of mine just called me up. He went to dump some C&D. And as he did it, there was a perfectly good push broom, like a big push broom you use for doing driveways. At the very least, the town could use it. But he needed one. And he went to pick it up, and a guy came around, told him he wasn't allowed to pick up that push broom. Perfectly, it's gonna be crushed. Instead of using a $40, $50 push broom, you can't, it's just asinine. And it just is completely unbelievable that this bullshit is happening. That's all I gotta say.
Just for future reference, this gets projected on channel 22 and there could be children watching, so just language. Anyone else in the physical audience who wishes to speak? Teacher?
Hello, everyone. It's Keitra. I never go to the recycling center, but I still have things to say. I want to start by saying that there really are a lot of wonderful people who work at the Highway Department and the recycling center. People who've dedicated their lives to taking care of all of us on this island, 24 hours a day, on call, storms, snow plowing, hardworking people who also dedicate their lives to other parts of this island, the Legion, the fire, the rescue. But then right now, there are also a handful of people who probably aren't acting from their highest selves, let's say. And that is 100% a top-down problem. Ken Lewis is responsible for all the drama and all the pain that's going on. And you all are kind of co-signing this. All of his draconian policies, his poor decisions for the last 8 months, kind of closing your eyes. This is a disservice to the community and the people that elected you to the office. I have two suggestions. My first suggestion is that you sit down and meet with a select group of the community and continue to have the people who have raised concerns and continue to have concerns. You bring in some members of the Green Solutions Committee. You bring in some actual experts who know what they're talking about when they're talking about recycling and reuse. And you have a conversation. I think you owe it to the people to do that and not rely on one man's personal agenda to be the rule of law. There are endless ways to reorganize the space that you have to make it work for the community, for the land, and for the environment. Endless ways. There are models all over this world. It is your responsibility to have an open forum on matters of concern that involve the community. The second suggestion I have is that you do a complete and thorough site review of all of the land that houses the Highway Department, the recycling center, the soon-to-be police impound, and any other of the goings-ons that are down there. A full site review that was suggested at the beginning of this year, when we had problems at the beginning of the year. A transparent, full aspect review. Again, bring in some experts who know what they're talking about, as the town boards have done in the past. Rely on people who know what they're talking about. We have a tremendous amount of land there, and a more constructive manner and a more focused way of using that land would benefit the community and the waste management and honor the environment, which it is not doing now. Right now, Shelter Island is just throwing its hand in the face of any environmental issues, landfill, filling the landfill out of some sort of spite. The last thing I'll say is that two of you ran on this agenda when we all voted for local, vote for the locals. We'll take care of the locals. Are you taking care of us now? Is my question. Who is local exactly to you? Does that include this working class community that has come in here to town meetings and asked you questions that you don't answer? Any of the people in this room fall into that category of local for you? Or is that simply just your friends, your other board members, past board members? Who do you believe you actually work for? And the other thing I'll say is that the other two of you ran on the agenda of, we're here for all, everybody, everybody, everybody. Who is everybody? Does that include the people in this room? Does that include the people in the working class that you're not listening to, or is that just your government? I would like to see you all keep your promises. I would really like to see you live up to the potential that we all see in you. We saw in you from the beginning. I've said this from the beginning. I had great faith in all four of you. And I would really like you to keep your promises and live up to your potential. You work for us, by the way. All of us on this line, and we're not going away. You work for everybody here. This man is likely, and hopefully, a one-term wonder. You owe it to us to respect doing your job, and not just doing your job to honor some of the people, but to honor all of you.
Anyone else in the physical audience? Anyone on Zoom who has any public comments? Kim Nolan? You're muted if you're talking.
I had a quick question. I know you're working on a schedule on the comprehensive plan, and earlier a public hearing date of October 28th had been mentioned. And I just wondered if that was still the goal, and, you know, how do you kind of keep track of the schedule? Just because it's hard. It's hard for some people to get to the public hearings, and this is one I think that a lot of people don't want to miss. And then secondly, I wanted to ask if there was any update or there was going to be any response to the request by the Shelter Island Association that the town conduct a GEIS with an independent expert, you know, an environmental expert. Okay, those are my two questions. Thank you.
Okay. Schedule for the public hearing on comp plan is still to be determined. I was actually thinking about that and looking at the schedule this morning, and I honestly can't give you an answer because we're trying to get through the chapters. It's taking us longer. As I look back at the things we're going to need to go back and recircle on, we may need some more work sessions that will be spent on pulling together all of the comments and things that we have. So I just don't know. I just want to keep plugging along, and we will make sure that there's plenty of notice when the public hearings do get set. And the same thing with the GEIS. We will be talking to firms at some point, hopefully within the next month or so, to start to figure out who we want to hire to do environmental, and also how we, you know, the scoping and what we're pulling out of the plan that needs to go forward. So it's all on the table, and we're doing our best, but we will continue to keep the public informed.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And then I saw, Angelo, you had your hand up before. It's down now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I don't know who the last speaker was before Kim, but I want to give her a big round of applause. I agree with her on not only the town picking issue, but on the pyramid law issue, the IA issue, the rental code issue. It seems like the town boards don't listen to the community. They listen to everybody else amongst themselves. So big kudos to the last speaker, and I think the town board should take a little bit of this to heart and start thinking more about the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Anyone else in Zoom? Then we will move on to number 2 on the agenda, which is the Goodie Pile update. Benjamin and I met with Ken a couple weeks ago and gave Ken some time to think through different implementations we want to make. So here's your opportunity to let us all know.
Okay, thanks. I just want to start, the first thing I want to start by saying is I just want to clarify, I know everybody that's in the room here in the audience already knows this, but I'm not sure everybody in the community does understand it. There's been some misconceptions about my change in policy to close the construction debris and the metal debris piles to picking. But there's also been a number of people who came up to me. I was at the Green Fair on Saturday, who asked me, why I was closing the goodie pile. So I want to be clear about that we are not closing the goodie pile. And my reason to come here today after my conversation with Councilman Diet and Supervisor Williams is to speak about, wanting to, I've spoken to Ron Jernick, who is our foreman, and he's basically, is the main employee at the recycling center, and about our plans to expand what we take into the goodie pile. I'm going to keep it right now as to household goods, but we're going to continue to we're going to start to take in more furniture if people would like. We will continue to take the small appliances, games, all the things that we always took, kids, toys, etc. But we would extend it to more kitchen items, tools, of course. Well, all of these things, I should preface by saying that if they're in 100% working order is what we would like to see in there. So, if they're hand tools, even a table saw, if it's in good shape, I have no problem with it coming in there. I've instructed the men that work there, even with items that do come over the scale that may end up in there for someone who doesn't feel like they want to put it into the goodie pile. I've instructed the staff that they can remove things from those areas and they can bring them and put them into the goodie pile. I am going to staff somebody. I know that was something that had been done in the past, but I know has definitely dropped off in years. And my intention is to have a member of the staff over at the goodie pile for the duration of those hours that the goodie pile is open on a given day, so that there can be a monitor to what comes in, because inevitably there are people that might bring something in that isn't in great shape or isn't in working order, and they're just trying to discard it as opposed to paying for it. But so there are things like that. And I would also say that larger furniture items we would like to avoid, like couches, for example. If there was a large armoire or something like that, that's a very large piece that would require 2 or 3 people to carry it, I would like to see that we don't bring those things into the area. What I would say is that I would encourage people, and I do encourage people now, that if there are items that are like that people want or want to get rid of, there are avenues for people to do that. There are a number of, I'm not on Facebook, but I know there is Shelter Island Neighborhood, I believe it's called, and there are other vehicles for people to do that. And I know a lot of people search those things and make connections and find things as well as, there's always the ability to put something out in front of your house, or, if it's something that maybe you don't have a pickup truck and you can't take a couch or a large piece of furniture to the dump, or to the goodie pile, I'm sorry, you could, that's another avenue for you to get rid of it. There are certain things that we don't want. I just mentioned some of the large pieces of furniture, a couch or a recliner, that kind of thing. Mattresses we don't take. I think a lot of people know that already, but, and we are looking for an avenue right now. There is a company that works with Winter Brothers up in Brookhaven that does have a recycling plan for mattresses. I was actually at a conference and they were there presenting it. So we're going to start talking to them about what we can do for the mattresses that come in. Believe it or not, the mattresses are useful to us with our, some of the older mattresses are useful to us for the use of our walking floor trailer, because it keeps things from getting into the grooves when they start moving the material out. But, and then we also, and we're not going to take, I know this comes up sometimes and somebody asked me a question about this and I looked into it. They talked about cribs and like car seats for children. Generally speaking, those are things that they shouldn't be, they change so frequently with what the rules and the laws are about what's best inside of a car seat or a crib, and there's recalls on things. I think it's just best for people to, I mean, if you want to keep them in your family, I mean, I can't tell you how to do that, but whatever you want to do. But as far as trying to get it transferred and put it into a place where somebody could take it, I think is probably just not safe. So we won't be taking that as well. You know, and so, yeah, I would like to see the expansion of it. I'm encouraging the expansion of it. I'm encouraging my staff to stay on top of things that might end up in the recycling area, on the construction debris area. And also, you know, they have a job to do down there as well. And so, you know, I will leave it up to their discretion at some points if there is something that, you know, we don't want to see broken items inside of there. I do plan on, I know there's sort of a median cutoff inside the actual Goodie area, and we're going to expand it to open up the whole area. And I'd like to get more shelving in there, and create an area that's really more for sort of the furniture, tool sort of stuff, and then things that can be put on shelves along the sides, and to open up the area a little more. So at least what furniture we do bring in, I noticed a lot lately, there's been a lot of chairs brought in, a lot of kinds of things like that, which is great, but I'd like them to be under the overhang so they stay out of the weather. So we're gonna open up that whole area. It's sort of cut off right now by a table set up in there, but we're gonna open it up so there's a full circle you can make throughout the place, you know, to start. So that's, I mean, really just what I have, just to expand what we're going to be allowing in there. We are going to expand, we are going to have, you know, staff manning the area, more importantly. And I would just, my only other thing too, is I would just ask folks to be as respectful of everybody down there as you possibly can, of each other, because I've had a couple of folks come up to me and talk to me about, you know, people just, you know, getting into arguments over things, and I just say, look, I know you're all looking for the same things inside the Goodie pile. You want these things. I would just hope that you'd be respectful to each other and respectful to other members of the community that are coming in to look at things. And I have encouraged my staff to do so as well. I'd also like to say too, something that, you know, I think is out there a lot. And I'm just going to say this to close from my end, and I'll open to any questions from the board, obviously. But I think there's also been this misconception that I'm just completely unapproachable, and I think a word was used, retractable, and there's a number of things that have been said about me lately. And I may be a lot of things to a number of people in this room and in this community, but there's one thing I have never been, is unapproachable. And my door is always open, and I am available. I live in this community. I grew up in this community. I'm in this community all the time. I'm in every store, the post office, wherever I am. And there's never been a time when somebody has come up to me in the time that I've been in this office that somebody hasn't been able to approach me and ask me a question or talk to me about what's going on there. So I just would encourage anybody. I will make time for anyone that would like to come see me. And I will also say to you, I mean, I was just at the beach on Saturday, and I had somebody come up to me with a question regarding something for the highway department, and I was more than happy to talk to them for a few minutes. So I just want to put that out there, that moving forward, if anybody has any questions about any of this, that you can talk to me anytime. So that's all from my report as of late. And if the board has any questions for me.
I have a question.
Sure.
Just for clarity, because I don't really understand. Am I understanding that a few years ago, somebody was in the metal pile and they cut their hand and they sued the town for $9,000 or some such number? Has there been any other incidents?
Not that I'm aware of. There was another incident of another person that was injured in the metal pile, but I don't believe that person brought any, like a lawsuit or anything to the town. And that one was, that was an incident where somebody, you know, it was a settlement from the insurance company settled.
The other issue, the infamous propane tank that was brought in. Do the workers inspect to see what comes in?
So the workers are, I will say this, the workers inspect the things that come in on that given day. It was a rainy day. There was, this propane tank had come in the morning. They had not gotten out of the scale house. It may have been missed by them, but there is, look, it's a constant. There's a lot of material that comes in that place. There are things that will fall through the cracks. This was a unfortunate occurrence that it was missed by the staff, but it's also something that could have been, yes, it didn't catch fire. I never said that it caught fire, but I've had experience with propane tanks, and I've had experiences with an incident that I personally was involved in about 15 years ago, where a propane tank was ruptured on a job site I was on, and it wasn't on fire, but it was leaking propane, and they evacuated a whole neighborhood in Hay Beach. I can just tell you that if that had gone, yes, it was spewing propane, and yes, the fire department was there, and they were there for almost 2 hours, dousing water on it for the duration until the tank was completely evacuated.
My question was, the truck, the vehicle that brought it in wasn't inspected. I've gone to the recycling center with material, with construction debris, with metal. I've never had anybody look in the back of my pickup truck to see what I'm dropping off. Just go back.
Well, I guess we can increase the inspection. If you want somebody to get we can have them come out of the scale house and look in the back of the truck.
Here's what I'd like to see.
Sure.
I'd like to see an accommodation of this. This has been a big part of Shelter Island, as these people have said. There's 520 signatures now on a petition. The last time somebody came in, there was 400. People have come up to me and talked to me about this. Running in. Albert, I go there all the time, get a piece of wood if I'm doing something, or I need a piece of metal I'm doing something around the house. Why not put different specific hours on? Let people in for specific hours. Can you work out something like that? I don't see a reason why that can't be worked out, honestly.
I see a million liability reasons why it can't be worked out. I've got the letter from the insurance company, Albert. I've talked to the other 5 municipalities. There is not another municipality that allows anyone into those work zones, into the construction debris in the middle of the brook.
Exactly.
Stop. Please.
You did that
Please,
too.
we're not taking public comments. The board is addressing.
Listen, you can vote accordingly and choose whichever path that you would like me to go, but I stand pretty firmly on this, that I was elected here to do what's in the best interest of the municipality and to protect the town and the town board from liability and from litigation. And I think that, and it's a public safety issue. It's as simple as that to me.
What is the liability issue, the insurance company? How they have directed you?
Here, I'll read it for you if you'd like. I brought it. I read it when I made the announcement, but I'm happy to read it again. Thank you for emphasizing the importance of safety at the recycling center for both the public and employees. Based on the materials contained in this section of the recycling plant, it is a good risk management decision to close this area to the public. Wood and metal debris can be sharp and pose a safety hazard to those who come in close contact. There could be other unknown hazards contained in this section. Also, during the day, Shelter Island Town employees are operating heavy equipment, performing work necessary to the recycling center's operations. This presents a safety risk to those entering this area and a risk of unwanted liability to the town of Shelter Island. Closing off this section with wood and metal debris seems like a prudent step to mitigate potential hazards and a good risk management decision supported by your insurance carrier and broker.
I don't know. I think there's been a limited number of episodes. There's been one, really, and except the last one with the propane tank. I don't see why inspections can't be made of material coming in to the recycling
We
center.
can certainly do inspections, Albert, but that doesn't an inspection.
Let me finish.
Okay,
Finish, please.
okay.
And limited hours, designated hours, like we're put on the goodie pile. I don't think that that's
So are we free
unreasonable.
from liability in the limited hours that we allow people in there? Is that what you think is gonna happen? Does the
I
insurance?
hate to see this close.
Okay?
I do. It's a big part of Shelter Island. There's a lot of people that use it. And I'd like to see some way to facilitate it staying open. That's all.
Well, different perspective on what Albert's saying. The plan that you just discussed doesn't seem to touch on, or maybe I'm wrong, things that people are really looking for. You know, useful pieces of 2x4, scrap metal that is, that can be reused in other ways. You were talking about appliances and other small items. Does your plan encompass the employees of the recycling center to pick those things and move them over to the?
It doesn't with construction debris and the metal debris. I mean, I think you could try to do something with clean wood if you would like to, and clean lumber. And we could possibly try to designate another area to do that. But I think, you know, most of what comes in there is got, if it's demolition debris, it's going to have nails, and it's going to have, some of it's not all intact, some of it's broken, which also could pose a hazard to folks. I would be willing to, explore the idea and talk to the guys, to talk to Ron, who's there specifically, and the people that work there, and continue to think about a way that we could probably come up with a way for people that have clean building materials to bring in. But it can also become, a labor-intensive piece that, and to monitor that on a regular basis. But I wouldn't be averse to looking into it. I think we're going to be traveling down a road eventually that may come to that someday anyway, with the closure of, as Brookhaven nears its closing. But I do think that, but we'd have to reconfigure some things down there and really take a look at it, because I hold firmly that I don't want people into the work zone over there.
Is there, I saw who raised his hand, and I want to, I'll make some notes, but I also want to catch people who haven't spoken so far first.
I just, I don't understand the difference between somebody going in there to pick up a piece of 2x4, or the guy that brought the 2x4 in there. He's in the back of his pickup truck and he's pulling all this stuff out. There's a better chance that he's gonna get hurt, and then you're gonna have this liability you're talking about. If you're gonna let people come in to drop stuff off, what is the difference between that and letting somebody come in and pick that piece up and take it home? It just seems to me, and I agree 100% that the guys have got to be able to work. But it would seem to me is if you've got money to say, okay, what hours are you going to be using the heavy equipment to load the trucks to take stuff off island? Then you close those. Maybe you close it from 10 to 2 so they can do their work. But there's got to be an easy way to do it without being draconian about it. That's where I'm coming from. And as far as the propane, you put those tanks over on the side, you don't charge people to bring them in. It's a natural thing if you're gonna charge them, charge $25 for propane tank.
Yeah, and it's true. We don't.
Screw it, I'm not gonna pay it, I'm gonna throw it in.
Right, and we did find the individual that brought it because we had his license,
That's not the
but
point.
I understand.
The point is it should be, for something like that, it should be just put aside, let people put it in there for nothing, keep it out of the way, and keep it safe.
Under consideration.
Someone in the back has, a woman with the beige sweater, did you want to speak? Did you raise your hand before?
I didn't, but
You need to come up. I'm just giving those who haven't spoken yet a chance to speak before recircling back.
I'm just,
Your name.
sorry, I'm Carrie Kenny. I'm at 29 Congdon. I love the recycling center and I love all the guys in it. But I do think, there has to be a compromise and, it's a DIY kind of island. So like when you don't have the wood or the metal or those things, I mean, my whole garden is made out of the stuff from construction debris. And, I'd be willing to sign an indemnity or whatever, like what if you did an online one page or, we used to wear vests. I know this has been an issue before. And, we haven't done it and there really hasn't been that many incidences. And, I would go online and sign it. I'm not gonna sue Shelter Island. I'm part of it. So that's all I wanted to say. I think there's just gonna be a compromise. Sorry, I'm not a good public speaker.
Thank you.
Kelsey had her hand up first.
Kelsey, about the goodie pile, what you said, I heard you, it's as if you were given a homework assignment and you did maybe 50% of it a week ago. Cause I know items go into the goodie pile. I know that all these things and furniture and chairs go in it, but let's address putting a new roof on it. You could have moved the tables this whole year to expand the back. It's always been there. You didn't say anything new. And then you read the insurance thing and they're suggesting that you close it. So what you're answering to is just laying down the law so that you don't get in trouble. So that one day if the insurance company, which is in place to pay if you get sued, they pay it. You pay your monthly bill for the insurance, and then if somebody gets sued, they pay it. That's the whole point. So it's you're taking a risk anyways. So and who makes the great point? It's you let all these people dump, and they're gonna get cut up, and they're gonna get roughed up. It's the same thing as the people going and picking. I've been picking there for 7 years. I haven't had any issues picking, and I go in my flip-flops. I'm usually in shorts. Everybody helps each other. What this actually seems like is that you got in a position that requires you to follow these specific types of rules, and you like to lay down the law. The insurance says you suggest to do this, you're gonna I'm gonna do it because that's what I have to do in order for all of this to be okay. I didn't get anything out of what you said, and I didn't get any improvement to anything. It's kind of like a slap in the face. You could have talked with a bunch of people and been how can I make this actually better? Get creative. Find another spot where it's just the wood dump, just the dump, just the plastic. You want to have a meeting? Oh, I'd love to organize this all with you. I will give my time because my tax dollars pay you to do what you do. And I would love it if it was awesome. I will go with the other people and I can find examples of really amazing places that do really great things for the community. An insurance company, they're just making money off of you every month. Okay.
I saw your hand up next.
I'd just like to address something that you made a very good point. How did that large 100-pound propane tank, that's a commercial tank, a private homeowner won't even own that. That's a large unit. How did that get in there? The day it got in there, the foreman of the recycling center was on duty. That was Ron Chernick. Okay, he was the foreman, he was on duty that day. He let it in. Mr. Lewis talked about Ron Chernick before. A few weeks ago when this place was packed again, certain people talked about items being destroyed purposely with the payloader. Well, the truth is Ron Chernick is the person they're talking about. Another issue you made was having it open certain hours. One problem I see with that is you never know when a load of something really good is going to come in. For instance, yesterday there was an electric bicycle that somebody had placed off to the side of the metal pile purposely so somebody could grab it. There was a 120-pound white boat cooler in the C&D. Now, depending on who's working, that could be purposely crushed so nobody could get it. That's one, you just never know when something's good is going to come in.
Can you address that? I'm looking for a compromise
Exactly.
with my fellow board members.
Let's keep,
Looking for a compromise. So I suggested that. I don't know what the answer is. I'm hoping we can work out something to get to an answer, to get to a good resolution.
I'd like to keep, okay, I listen, I'd like to keep that entire area by the C&D and metal clear for the workers and for the people who want to dump there. The only reason a picker should be back there is if they have a bulky item that they just have to go there for a quick minute, put it in their pickup truck or whatever, and then get out. Leave that area open for the workers and for the people who want to dump. Another issue Mr. Lewis made was he may assign a recycling worker to look over the goodie pile. If Mr. Lewis would like to look on his cameras, he likes to look on them a lot. If he looks right after 12 o'clock PM yesterday, he will see one of his recycling workers walk past the plastic fish totes. They were completely full. You couldn't fit anything else in there. They were overflowing. He walked right past them and he went to the goodie pile. He looked around the goodie pile. He picked out a pair of shoes. He walked past the plastic again. It was overflowing. He walked into the weigh station with the pair of shoes that he retrieved from the goodie pile. Okay, and this worker goes back to that goodie pile numerous times all day. So is this goodie pile going to be a private hardware store for the recycling worker? I mean, you go look at the, you got that camera, go look at it right after 12.
Okay, we'll do that.
It's one of the younger workers, one of the ones that's not a full-time worker yet.
Okay.
He cared about his pair of shoes, but he didn't care about the overflowing bins of plastic there that nobody could even put anything in. And the other thing is, I looked into this. We had over 500 signatures on that petition. And a petition can be turned, from what I understand, into a referendum. You need 5% of the people who voted in the last gubernatorial election, which was 2022. Let's say 1,700 people voted. So 10% of that is 170, half of that is 85. So you need 5%, which would be 85 people to sign a petition. It turns into a referendum that's put on the ballot. It can be relieving Mr. Lewis of his duties as recycling commissioner. It can be a referendum to reopen the C&D and metal so people can pick there. And we didn't go that route because we didn't want to make it any more divisive for the community than it may be like for Mr. Lewis. We wanted to keep it low key. And I respect you. I very much appreciate your comment about what you said about certain times, because that's a start. You're starting to talk, you're starting to present solutions, and hopefully we can work on those solutions. If not, a possibility is relieving Mr. Lewis of his duties as the commissioner of the recycling center, which is very easy to do. You just have to vote on it and do it. Okay, thanks.
I saw Jan raise his hand, he hasn't spoken yet, and then Bob, and then I'm going to need to cut it off because we've got a lot. Okay, and then I have to cut it off because we've got a lot more agenda and not a lot of time. I've got a hard stop at 3:30 for an interview.
So the concern about liability, this is such a big issue, why not prepare one page, what's it called, indemnity form, that people who want to pick up from those metal piles or goodie piles, or not goodie, but the metal or construction debris, just sign saying that if they get hurt, it's their own responsibility, they're not gonna sue the town. town attorney Kylie can prepare such a form. People sign it, you issue them a little, credit card size ID, and then problem solved. Wouldn't that work?
Not necessary. Stephen, you're on this call. Do you want to answer this? That how indemnities don't cover negligence or gross negligence, and for instance, that propane tank that was deposited there could easily be considered. Well, you're the lawyer, you go.
Yeah, no. I really don't want to chime in on that specific situation, but there are opportunities to explore potentially hold harmless agreements and things like that. However, case law suggests that those really don't protect the town ultimately for liability. So I'd have to really do some research into this particular area and see if there is a way that we can come up with something that's airtight from a legal perspective.
Thank you. But just to continue, it's also not the be all end all. I mean, there is a thing called compromise, there is a thing called middle ground, there is something about weighing benefits and burdens. And really we need to do more talking amongst ourselves about this to see if we can find a place amongst all of those considerations.
Bob Giardo, Silver Beach. And we appreciate your efforts in coming to a compromise. But myself and two other guys collected those petition signatures. And the majority of those people want the C&D and the recycling reopened, the mill recycling. Last time I stepped on a nail, I was in kindergarten. I ran home from my girlfriend's house, crying to my mom at three houses away. I have a degree in industrial arts education, a Bachelor of Science. I taught shop, metalworking, woodworking, mechanical drawing. Never got my master's. I rerouted my career. I went to woodworking. I was a professional woodworker for 45 years. I know more about safety than everybody in this room, okay? The majority of the people that signed the petition want it to go back to the way it was with vests. We signed a waiver, wear construction boots, no processing. That was only enforced for about a year and then they stopped it. So. And those 505 people, and we've stopped the petition, people are still coming up to me saying, can I sign the petition? I said, no, I'm stopping. I only did it for 3 weeks and got 500 signatures with two other guys. And those people that signed that petition, they vote. And they voted for you people to represent us. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Chair.
Probably real quick. I did a lot of research on the safety of the recycling center at the beginning of this year in relation to the flow of traffic to the building, the C&D, and the other part. The limited incident that you referred to at the C&D was one limited incident. The majority of the incidents that were reported happened in the recycling area where there was the cardboard, the plastic in that area. Multiple there, singular at the C&D. The other thing is serving 5 towns in the east end of Long Island is not a good standard for picking out a model for how to set up a recycle and reuse area. And Ken Lewis, we all know that you came into this position with an agenda to close the C&D and to close the Gooding pile, and you're not being let to do that part. But you had this agenda years ago, and it was on your mind to do it when you got here. No current events have changed that, and it's not something that's new. And I want to know if you contacted the insurance or did the insurance contact you? Did you write those notes to them telling them what was going on, or did they write those things to you? Did they initiate this, or did you initiate this? And if you're telling them and they're saying, oh, la, did you get 5 other quotes from 5 other insurance companies? Did you talk about this in any other municipalities outside of your 5 towns? This is an agenda that you have had, and you are misusing the truth here when you're talking about that this is all an insurance issue and that that they're telling you that that's what the leg you're standing on, the leg you're standing on is weak.
Okay, we're going to end that topic for today. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to pyramid law and its because this involves proposed legislation.
That's it, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
There won't be public comment.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to pyramid law, because it is, we are talking about proposed legislation possibly. It won't be open to public comment. However, I have invited Reed Karen from the building department to come in and answer any questions that we might have. So let me just. Right, so this getting back on the topic arose because the building department, there was miscommunication on a couple of fronts, was not aware of this law being passed. When we tabled proportionality, some thought that, and not just internally, but people in the community also thought that proportionality had gotten taken, pyramid law had gotten taken off the table as well. And so it became law when it was filed on June 12th. And so Reed brought to our attention that there's a gap that where it was implemented and it hasn't been enforced. And what do we do? And there are concerns about when we should be enforcing it, concerns about the impact on the ADU program, other things. So that's why we've put it back on the table. Does anyone want to start off, or would you like to hear more from Reed to explain?
I can start off.
Okay.
Stephen brought the pyramid law to the table. He said that other East End towns had done it. And at the time, I thought, this is a good thing. At the time, all I saw in my head was the house on Bowditch Road. And I thought that was crazy that was built in a C-zone, that house. It was egregious to the immediate neighbors and just a travesty for a neighborhood to have something like that go up. So I was basically focused on that, trying to do something to guard against that happening. And we passed it. And then we started the proportionality law, looking at the size of a house with a given size of a respective lot. And we continued that. And then all of a sudden I realized, no, I don't know enough about this. I don't know the ramifications of what we're studying, what we're looking to implement. We need to have a municipal planner study this and give us input in the ramifications of what we're talking about. So then I went back and I looked now at the pyramid law. We never had a planner look at the pyramid law to advise us. It's a zoning issue. It needed SEQRA review. We had no SEQRA review. It should have gone to the Suffolk County Planning Commission for their review and recommendations. That would have been a good thing to do. We didn't do that. And here we are. So I think basically we got bad advice, bad legal advice. So I'd like to make a motion now to rescind the pyramid law. Can I get a second?
Albert, what was your bad legal advice you received? Not sure what you're referring to.
What's that?
You received bad legal advice?
No, we needed, Stephen, we needed a SEQRA review on this. We needed it to go to the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
No, you're wrong on both counts, Albert. You're wrong on both counts. Number one, if you have a comprehensive plan that has a DGEIS underlying it, you don't need to do SEQRA for subsequent zoning amendments. So that's number one. Number two, this did not have to go to the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
I know that, but this is what I would have
And-
wanted. I would have been, I would like,
And even if it
I'm
went to the
talking,
Suffolk-
Stephen,
even
I'm
if it went to
talking.
the Suffolk
I didn't
County
talk to
Planning
you.
Commission,
I'm
even if it went to
talking,
the
damn it.
Suffolk County, damn it, even if it went to the.
I don't want to hear you, okay? I'm
They would
speaking.
not have given you the advice you're looking for, sir. That's all.
I would have liked to have had a secret review on this. I think that would have been advantageous for the board to have that. I think it would have been advantageous to present it to the Suffolk County Planning Commission to get their input, their review and recommendations. So
They would not give you any advice on it, Albert. They would say it's a matter of local determination. They're not an asset for municipalities to use that don't have planning departments and to fulfill that role. Unfortunately, they do not do that.
I believe that's true also.
Stephen, knowing your relationship with the Suffolk County Planning Commission, I would expect that response.
Wait, what is my relationship of constantly getting the moratoriums approved? That relationship, Albert? Constantly.
Steven, stop, Steven.
Is this a public comment or what?
No.
Come on, folks.
No, but I do, I think that if we sent it to Suffolk County Planning Commission, it would get administrative review only and would come back to us as a matter of local jurisdiction.
Did we do it?
However, no, because it's not something that's required to go to them. But when we deep sixed talking about proportionality until the comp plan is done or further along, your request to do a secret review on that, I did at the time make a comment, we just did pyramid law, and so we're treating this differently. We should not have passed the pyramid law. So I agree with you on that. So if you want to undo it, what we have to do is we have to repeal the pyramid law, which will require us setting a public hearing, having a public hearing, and then passing it.
Yeah, that was.
Isn't there a middle ground where we can postpone?
Let me get back. I made a motion to rescind the law. Can I get a second?
I will second.
You can't make a motion in the work session.
Well, that's not proper procedure.
Yeah.
We have to set a public hearing and we
All
have
right.
to have the public.
So
hearing.
September
Okay.
16th, you can set that public hearing.
Okay.
So is,
That's a procedure.
But
Wait,
Albert, I would agree with you that I do think that we should repeal it. I think it was rushed and needed more review.
We needed much more review. It was.
agree
I
with
got
that.
way out, we all got way out over the top of our skis on this one.
I agree with you, it needed more review, but I'm not sure the answer is to repeal it. There could be another answer, which is to delay its implementation until we could do more research and work on it, and then possibly modify it. What's the procedure
Either
for
way,
that?
we'd be
Same
changing
thing, either
the
way,
vote.
we have to go through.
Well, actually, Stephen, if we're changing, no, it's the implementation date. So would that not have to be a local law change?
Correct. We'd have to amend the existing law to include that because local law's effective dates are based upon when they're filed with the Secretary of State, unless you work into it a delay. So we would have to reopen that pyramid law and retroactively put in a date when it's going to be enforced. So either way, you're going to have to notice it and have a public hearing, whether or not you want to repeal it or if you want to just amend it to have a delayed enforcement date.
Same procedure either way.
Yes, yes.
I would vote for repealing it. I think we need more input, more review of the law.
I would agree with you.
I voted no in the first place, so of course I'm going to
Yeah,
vote yes.
exactly. How do you feel about it, Amber?
I'm leaning towards repealing unless you can make an argument as, a stronger argument to persuade me that we should just timeline it differently.
Since the procedure is the same, there is no great argument for doing it differently.
Okay,
So I'm with you on repealing it.
okay. So Stephen, if you could draft that for the next town board meeting to set the public hearing, please.
Will do.
Okay.
And just for the record, one of my main concerns is its effect on the ADU situation.
That's my,
that was an unintended consequence
Mhm.
because we absolutely need more attainable housing. And if this is gonna get in the way, we need to approach it more sensitively.
Mhm.
That's why I'm with you on repealing it.
yes, there is one building permit that was issued prior to its implementation. Had the pyramid law been in effect, that project would not be underway at this point. And I think there's a couple others that are in the pipeline that have that issue as well. And Liz and I have been working on trying to identify who it would impact.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, how do we reach out to those people to let them know?
Liz and I have started that. Yeah.
Reed, do you have anything to add?
Reed Karen, building inspector. I'm enthusiastic about repealing it because I think from a logistical standpoint, there are a bunch of problems. And I think that some of them have relatively easy solutions, some of them don't. I think talking to a planner might be a good idea. I don't know where, I don't know if you go to Suffolk County or you go elsewhere. But it seems to me certainly finer minds than mine probably looked into this before. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said potentially for a pyramid law, but I think it has to be very nuanced. You end up with all these unforeseen consequences.
I agree with you. I support the idea of a pyramid law and especially coupled with proportionality, but they're almost impossible things to do without real expertise on tap. And we haven't done that. And we should maybe stop and focus our efforts and energies and money on getting some real outside expertise.
Yeah, I think that, if it were Iowa, nice and flat, and it was, a brand new, planned community, that would be one thing. But here we've got, it's, I don't even know how you would start calculating in some way that wasn't extremely problematic in, some of the hillier areas of Shelter Island. It makes huge parts of the lot completely unbuildable, not necessarily where you want them. It's an issue.
Thank you.
I want to thank my colleagues. I think we made a mistake.
We're taking a mulligan.
Yeah, it happens, we're human.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the first one I've made ever, but.
I didn't make a mistake. I know. I make mistakes all the time, so I'm human.
Well, at least we fixed it and we're stopping, we're gonna try and do it right this time.
I agree.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
No, I just think it needs to be thought of better.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is merger authority. So we have in front of us. Okay. Just a little history, because I was here, I believe you were here too, Albert, were you here when we,
It was in 18, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was after my first year in office, when you were in office as well.
My first year.
Yes. So a blur. Just to go back in time, we had on the books a law. Let's see, I know I've got pieces of it here. That's so cold. A provision that a non-conforming lot shall merge with an adjacent conforming or non-conforming lot which has been held in common ownership at any time since October 19th, 1959. Non-conforming lots shall be deemed merged until the total lot size conforms to the area requirements of the zoning district in which it is located. A conforming lot may be merged with an adjacent conforming lot at the request of the property owner, so long as merger does not result in a change of zoning district for any parcel. So the reason that we undid that back in 2018, 18, was because we were finding people who went to go do something with their lots, sell one of them, and they discovered that their lots had been merged and they were unaware of it. And while in talking with Stephen, there, was a mechanism in the old law that allowed for people to unmerge their lots. It just seemed easier at the time to just do away with that and make voluntary mergers. So what ended up happening was in the resolution at the time, there was a provision that this board shall appoint an ad hoc committee to advise this board as to whether this section shall ultimately be amended or repealed and to propose any such amendments. That piece was never followed up on. So it got brought to our attention when there was an application before the planning board. Or was it ZBA?
I think they had to go to both, ZBA and then wetlands.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's why it was before planning board, wetlands and ZBA. So that's why we are here now. So I think initially there was talk of possibly going back to the prior code. But in thinking about it and why we went that path in the first place, I think the reasons from my perspective is that we changed it for a reason and we should stick with what we've changed to, making it voluntary. However, we just need to put in place a mechanism for voluntary mergers because that piece was never finished at the time.
Well, a couple of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and just for discussion.
Yep.
I mean, the reason merger law exists is to reduce the number of non-conforming lots.
Yes.
And automatic merger does that. The problem that we were running into was a problem of notice. People didn't know their lots were being merged, even though it was automatic in the law. So it seems like we're not going back to achieve the original purpose of a merger law. You could do that by just adding a notice provision. Because you can have voluntary merger, but you're still not getting rid of non-conforming lots. You're not actively reducing the number of voluntary lots, if that is something that is desirable. And if it is, you can solve it by going back to the old law and adding a notice provision. Just a thought.
True. No, that's true. Yep, no, all you say is valid. Any other thoughts on that?
I like it as written.
Would you like that?
I agree with it as it's written, that it's a voluntary merger, but once that merger happens, it can't be undone because now you're creating a conforming law, so.
Right. No, I think this is good. I mean, the assessor's office has the form. The applicant can fill out the form, give the necessary information to the county, and then they're notified on the merger, I think. And then the application to the building department would be cross-checked for a building. No, I think this is good. I agree.
I think it's less messy than relying on someone receiving a notification when people are always changing addresses and moving around, and I think it just removes some of the
Ambiguity.
potential for mistakes.
Right.
Yeah, and I think to, your suggestion, just, we are a small town, we do have thin staff. And to add something, like we're going to now have someone monitor this and make sure if somebody does, historically, what they would do is avoid it by putting one parcel in the husband's name, one parcel in the wife's name, so that they wouldn't get automatically merged. But to have someone monitor that, and then also be in charge of doing the notification, we're just adding.
It wasn't a suggestion, just a discussion
No,
point,
but I mean.
because remember, I'm the guy that doesn't worry about non-conforming lots. So.
Okay, so we will go ahead and set this for a public hearing then. It's fine with me. And just so that the public is aware, the piece that's changing in the law is if at any time a dimensionally non-conforming lot is held in the same ownership as an adjoining lot, the owner may voluntarily merge the lots by submitting an application to the Shelter Island, Town of Shelter Island assessor. Upon merger, the lots may not be unmerged.
But is there a requirement that should there be a requirement that those two merged lots should be then conforming? If you take two non-conforming lots, merge them, and they're still not conforming.
It may not be possible to get them to conformity, because if you've got like a 0.7 acre and a 0.2 acre in a double A zone, we're still only, like, we've gotten them less non-conforming.
Right.
But there's no way, like, if they don't own the parcel next to it, they will never get it to 2 acres until.
Okay, it's
I
really,
mean,
it's
you'd
not
rather
that
than be
important.
closer to conforming
Right.
than further from conforming. So,
And the instance of this happening is very small.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just want to advise the board that this is a zoning amendment, so if there's still a desire to send it to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, which again, we don't have to, and they'll reject it, or if a secret review is wanted, it does not have to be, because again, there was a DGEIS and a GEIS done with the comprehensive plan.
But Stephen, would it be prudent to get a independent town planning consultant to have a look at it?
Yeah, and I think that there are some potential interviews in the future that you might be able to avail yourself of that. However, this is something that has to be done. There's a current application that's being held up because we are not in conformity with New York State case law regarding mergers. So we have to provide a mechanism.
I mean, off the top of my head, was the subject dealt with at all in the last comprehensive plan?
There was already a merger provision.
yeah, I was gonna say merger provision already existed.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's,
So, I
I'm
mean,
all for setting the public hearing.
yeah, I don't,
I'm just trying to make sure we don't miss anything again.
Right.
Albert, are you okay with going forward?
Yeah, I'm fine, Stephen, but
Okay.
I don't appreciate when I'm speaking to you
No,
jump in
no.
and argue with me. That's inappropriate for the town attorney to do that.
It's inappropriate for you to say that you got poor legal advice when you said you
Well,
made a
that's what I-
mistake.
that's
Take
what I felt.
responsibility for making a mistake. Don't try to put it on me. Thanks.
Let's move on. All right, the next topic is the comprehensive plan, chapter 6, 7, and 8. We have a hard stop at 3:30, so I don't know how far we're gonna get. What I want to do is I'd like to just do board member reports first, because I don't know how long those will take. And then comprehensive plan, we can just, start with chapter 6 and see how far we get. So I had a couple of things. I'll start while you guys are pulling up your stuff since I changed the order for you. We have gotten from 42 Gardeners Bay a renewal request on their wetlands application and special permit application. They have submitted paperwork. You should have seen it in your emails. And I just wanted to see if if there was any questions. This was something that was adopted back in 2022. So they were approved for wetlands and special permit. The wetlands, I believe, was removal from the title wetlands adjacent regulated area and removal from freshwater adjacent regulated area. And then the special permit was the home size. They were removing a dwelling of 8,882 square feet, and all structures were going to total 10,779 SFLA. So
Is there new construction going on there now?
yeah, they're in the middle of the project.
That's the project, but I mean
42 Gardeners Bay.
new additional
No,
construction.
no,
It has to be
it's
according
everything
to-
that's in this original permit.
Okay.
They're
Most of the work is
beyond,
finished,
but
they
it's almost
just-
done, yeah.
This is the house next to Menhaden Lane.
Correct. It's like diagonal. If you're sitting in Manhattan Lane, you look straight out, yeah.
I don't know what percentage completion it is.
Right, but they do something.
But it's a big project, so it's.
As long as there's no change in the application, then, that's fine.
And they submitted the request prior to it expiring, so.
The only thing is that the Suffolk County Health Department permit's expiring, but they are in the process.
They have
of
to renew
renewing
it, yeah.
So I made sure that that was already in process for my presentation.
Could there be any hiccup there?
No, it's a renewal of a already approved.
Same situation that we're in.
Yeah, no, they won't deny it.
Okay, all right, so we can put that on the resolution. The other thing is, I've been working on how to reconstitute the licensing review board. And you mentioned it last night, and I've been working with the clerk, Kim Riley, to, we have not been able to reconstitute it because we have not been able to find someone who is an eligible home improvement contractor. And that's one of the requirements, that one of the members must be on it. So at the moment, I'm the only active member. Your appointment actually expired back in April, but
Did it? Oh, okay.
there was nothing, like, since we don't have a functioning board, there was no point in appointing. I think I've found an easy fix that will help us. Other neighboring communities, so far from the research done, is that they don't have something similar to our legislation. So I know of somebody who is interested in serving, but they are a retired home improvement contractor with decades of experience.
Well, I think that's preferable to someone who is actively a contractor. I would rather retired be on the board than someone
Yes.
who's actually working in the community.
It's been a little bit of the case, because there may have
Yeah.
been one or two people, one who, like, people who didn't qualify as a home improvement contractor, or someone who was like, maybe we'd be putting the fox in charge of the hen
Wanna
house.
get rid of competition.
Yeah, exactly, so we don't really want to do
Somebody
that.
that lives on the island?
Yes, yes. So what I would like to suggest is just one minor change to the existing legislation, 79-20, so if you could take a look at it, for when we put it back on, but basically, 7920A5 says at least one member of the licensing review board shall be a home improvement contractor who resides and has his place of business in the town. And I'd like to change it to, or a retired home improvement contractor who resides and had or has a place of business in the town. And then we can open up, like I have one person I know is interested, but we may have other retired
Do
contractors.
we put an ad in, much like we do with committees?
But first, what we have to do is we have to change the legislation, so we need to draft the legislation, which is just a few words. Set the public hearing, hold the public hearing, and then we can start moving forward.
Does he no longer have a license? Is it easier just for this person to go get another license?
We can investigate that, but I think
Seems like
it
it's
But
opens.
with the license, you also have the insurance and everything else, so if they're not actually working, they may not want to take on the expense of.
Yeah, and they may not want to even bother, but this also opens it up to potentially others. We have, so if Albert wants to go back on, if there's any other community members or other contractors, retired contractors, the board is either 3 or 5 members. So we may be able to.
I would like to go back on.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case. So this is an easier fix. And then also, once we reconstitute it, I would like, all I want to make is that one change. But the rest of this should be reviewed, but once we have a functioning board, and maybe after, similar to what we did with ethics, is we created, or reconstituted the ethics board. They took a look at the code after having had a few cases come before them, and then made some very good changes to our ethics code. So I'd like to have like a similar process take place for this. So finally some motion on that
Good,
in the past weeks.
congratulations, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've been working on it all year. I'll let you speak to the community housing board, because I only sat in on part of it. Well, actually, I guess you could take the first part and I could take the second, because I did come in after you had left.
Wasn't that much, I mean.
So we're not doing comprehensive part today?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. It's just, I wanted to cover other things because I didn't know how long this would take, and I've got a hard stop at 3:30 with interviews and executive session. Yes. So we'll start on chapter 6. Transportation. Yes.
So, yes, Community Housing Board met last Thursday evening, approved minutes. Talked about it, we were still waiting for surveys for the property on North Ferry Road and Manwaring, but they're almost done. The South Ferry Road survey is already in the bag. It became clear that we have to decide how we're gonna qualify and move forward on the pro-housing community designation. There are 2 ways to do it, by proclamation or by just our housing activity history. We need to get this designation to be available for different kinds of funding. So that's going to be moving forward with the second option.
Just to interject there, we're going to look at doing it based upon data and numbers and what we've done with building permits and things like housing permits and starts, because the proclamation has to be specifically worded per the governor's mandate. And there are things in the proclamation that I just don't think that we as a board or the community as a whole want to sign off on stating what the governor would like us to say.
Okay. Let's see. We need to. Oh, the housing survey. We're about 3 years into a 5-year housing survey, roughly 2, 3. So yeah, we had a discussion about starting now to work on the grant funding for the next one. We don't want to fall behind on it. There was a discussion about ADU +1 and outreach. There's a new outreach plan, and they were at the Green Expo on Saturday. Starting that. There's also talked about how the septic upgrades that are required are causing some people a little trouble, given the fact that there might not be room on particular properties to do all the upgrades necessary, in addition to the fact that the Shelter Island Grant Program doesn't cover it. Only the state and county grants cover this type of work, since it is new construction. So it's something that we, the board, and the CHB need to continue talking about. What did you have?
When I talked to Liz on Friday, she did say that there might be some septic funding coming online. So we may find some reprieve there.
In September, October.
Yes, and then the other thing that she said was when she had the meeting with the ADU +1 people, that it's $125,000 per house, and there are administrative and soft costs that get covered with that 125. There's been some changes, and so in the past, it's been about $95,000 that's eligible for hard costs. They've done some reworking at CDCLI, and they can get that number of hard cost money up to $115,000. So that, as we talk to some of the people who have opted not to go forward with the program, besides making sure that they weren't dropping out because of the pyramid law, if funding was an issue, and we've now got an extra $20,000 to put towards the project, and the possibility for septic, we may be able to get some of those people back in the fold.
Okay. I think that's my only meeting this week.
So we had the Green Expo on Saturday. It happened at the same time as the craft fair. And I think it was one of the best turnouts we've had in the last few years. Typically, well, Tim Pertel was kind of the mastermind of it originally. And this year, we have a new Green Options Committee member, Jonathan Reeves, who worked on, he actually stepped up and offered to help coordinate and organize and kind of run the Green Expo this year. So he and Tim worked very well together, getting the event organized and laid out, and we had an amazing turnout. We had so many committees and volunteers from the community come out and man tables, and it was just a great location, and there's way too many people to thank to not miss some critical people. But it was a phenomenal event. We had great engagement. The location was wonderful because you walk from the parking area up the side of the school to get to the craft fair. So you had to go through the tunnel of all the committees and the tables. And, you know, we had different energy, green energy vendors. We had all of our town committees. We had senior services and the senior center. And we had, you know, just pretty much everybody you could think of was there. It was a really nice turnout. It was a good event. And I'm really not doing it justice, but it was a really good time. It was a lot of table moving, a lot of tents, but I think it was worth it. So I'm kind of looking forward to next year.
I don't have any reports, but I have a question. Driving along New York Avenue, there's activity going on the third fairway where Suffolk County Water put the wells. What is that? What's going on there?
Joe knows. I was gonna say, Joe is on and my mind is drawing a blank. Joe, are you listening? Oh, good. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Suffolk County Water Authority is finishing the well installations for the West Neck system. They received 2 new wells over on the golf course, replacing 2 older wells that were retired, and they're finishing the connections from the new wells into the grid, into the system of water mains for West Neck.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Joe. Maybe I'm confused. Jerry had received a $500,000 grant in conjunction with Fred Thiel. Fred Thiel had facilitated that. And that was to go toward Suffolk County Water Authority. And the agreement was, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 1.7 million. Where did that $500,000 go?
That will be reducing the 1.7 that's owed by the town.
Do we have that grant now, or we haven't received it?
The last meeting that we had for West Neck Water, and I think our next meeting is coming up in September, we'll get an update from Suffolk County Water Authority. But they had done the work, or, you know, almost completed the work, so they need to apply to get the reimbursement of those funds. And once they get the reimbursement of those funds, I'm going to sit down with the financial people to do the recalculations. I preliminarily ran through what I thought it was going to do for rates, and ran it by Joe Pokorny, and he said my numbers were pretty good. We're
Okay, so there'll be a reduction in
Yes.
for the West Neck Water customer. Okay.
And then once that happens, the West Neck Water Board can then look to see how, what they want to do, because the West Neck water rates were, just to sort of refresh, Suffolk County charges their rates, and it's an island rate. Our West Neck water rates are up here. And what those West Neck water rates are doing is creating an excess, which then pays for the debt service of the 1.7 million. And the way it was originally structured, there was money sitting in the West Neck water coffers in the class account. So a little bit of that money, 27,000 actually last year, was used to defray not raising West Neck water rates up even higher. So what will end up happening is the West Neck Water Board will have to decide is, okay, like the Suffolk County water rates are here, there's always a slight increase. West Neck water rates are here, will they bring them down because the debt service is lower? Or will they keep them where they are and not raise them even though there's increase here? Because the numbers that we originally did, like the money that we had and the differential was only going to carry us out a certain number of years. So with getting that 500,000, it can carry us out further. But that will be a discussion, and there will be numbers calculated for the West Neck Water Board to make the decision on how they want to set rates for their customers.
Thank you, Ed, for piecing that back together for me.
Yeah, because it kind of, it kind of drops off the radar and then comes back again. Yeah. Yeah, question on that?
Yeah, I thought you said that they did not apply for that 500,000 yet?
Oh, no, they have to apply for the reimbursement. So the grant has been awarded.
No, but I watched the annual West Neck Water District meeting. It was like, I don't know, 3 months ago, and this guy, Joe Pocorni, said that they applied already, and maybe they'll even get paid July 1st, by July 1st, but maybe not.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember. I just know the money hadn't been received. I thought they hadn't submitted for the reimbursement, but.
You wanna check that because he was explaining it 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I just,
Now we're almost in September, so.
when we have our September meeting, we'll get an update, definitely. But thank you, my memory could be off on that, so.
Lots of random.
Lots of pieces of thread, I'm tracing. Okay, so,
Oh, there's an overdose awareness event at 7:00 on Thursday night. So everybody is welcome to join at the basketball court.
yeah. Thank you for reminding me. I think I got everything. Okay, so before we take the next 23 minutes and dive into.
A paragraph?
Yeah, okay, so chapter 6, 7, and 8. We're falling off schedule, because we've got 3 chapters on. We don't have a work session scheduled for next week because of Labor Day. Do we want to schedule a work session that is just strictly for getting us caught up on chapters?
We can, but I have to be done by 3. I have a doctor's appointment.
On Tuesday or Wednesday? I was gonna suggest either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday, I have to be done by 3, but let me see about. Wednesday, I have E-tip at 4. So
Tuesday,
either
that's
way,
3 PM hard stop, or Wednesday, 4 PM hard stop.
yep.
I have my phone with me, sorry.
Albert, do you have any thoughts?
Any Thursday options?
Where are we looking at? The 4th, next Wednesday?
Yeah, the 3rd, the 4th, or Benjamin's even suggesting the 5th.
The 5th, I have WQI at 6.
That's you guys, that's even
WQI
better.
at 6 and Kappa planning. So I would say anytime from 1 to 6.
Thursday might be better for me.
Yeah, Thursday is open.
I mean, I might have my calendar wrong.
We're
Next
talking
week.
next week.
September.
Yeah, just scheduling an additional work session since we did. All right, so you say Thursday's best.
Yeah.
I'm good with Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday's fine with me.
There's the, yeah, 1 o'clock. I'll be all right. I have an appointment, before that, late morning, but
Okay, so you'd be back by 1.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so Amber, if you could put on that we're gonna have this, an additional work session Thursday at 1 o'clock. Okay, thank you. All right,
EP work session, right?
yes. Chapter 6. I had that we finished with chapter 5 last week.
Yeah, I think so.
And Coco is, so she started to put some things together on tracking our changes. She was also going to speak to Noah to see if she could get a different type of document and send that in, because this is in, I guess, maybe a display kind of software.
It's a PDF. It's
So it's not easy to track changes. So, so she's gonna try and figure out the best way. And once she's gotten some guidance from the consultants, she will probably circle back to each of us to just double check some notes that we had, and she will track them to try and keep track of things that like we all agreed on. Like there was a couple of paragraphs in one chapter where it's like we all said out. And then other places where you've suggested some wording, so we just need to all circle back to make sure that.
I still think I owe you a paragraph rewrite in 5. I gave you the ones for 4, right?
Yeah, probably, but she's gonna go back and watch the meetings that she wasn't able to attend, and she's gonna make notes and talk to us, and so go over with each of us. And so like, I've got notes where it's like goal 5.5 is what you said you were going to write on recreation. Page 76.
Got it.
Yeah. But I would,
haven't done that
like,
yet.
when I sit down with her to go through my notes, she'll make a note of that and circle back to you.
Okay, good.
And anyone, like if we all come up with like, oh, wasn't Amber gonna do this and Meg do this? So
76?
page 76, I just wrote goal
Oh,
5.5.
yeah.
New one.
Oh,
I-
we had talked about that, and I had language, it was just an added bullet. Ensure that the location chosen takes common usage of the area into account and doesn't create significant conflict with current recreational use.
So
Like
give that,
that.
yeah, so you give that to Coco, Benjamin will
Yeah.
get his, and then we will, like when we're all through all the chapters, then
Yeah.
we'll start to go back through all the changes that we.
Well, that's the same.
I wanted to draft changes to 4.4, the nearshore overlay.
Yeah.
But I don't know, when are we going through wetlands revision together, review?
Oh, you mean just the code,
Yeah,
not comp plan? Hold on a second. That's coming up soon.
Amber, we can talk about that. We're looking to get some expertise in the room. Remember, we were going to put that on the back
Oh,
burner.
that's right, we put, yes, that's right. Yes. Yes,
okay.
yeah, because we're talking to,
All right.
interviewing consultants, so. Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, so, but yes, make a note and give that to Coco when you got it, Albert, on chapter 4.
So,
So chapter 6, we've got 17 minutes.
go.
Okay,
I was just gonna say, I did reach out to the police department and they provided me with updated data for the motor vehicle incidents, driving while intoxicated, and bicycle pedestrian accidents. And so with the bicycle and pedestrian accidents, it includes everything. It includes someone just going off the side of the road and falling off their bike. It also includes vehicle and bicyclist collision. So it includes anything and everything having to do with a pedestrian or a bicyclist getting hurt. It's not always a pedestrian or a bicyclist versus a car, just so people know.
so that you're getting that updated.
So I have that. I emailed it
On
to
page
everybody.
82, yes.
Yeah. So page 82, those 3 charts, I have the updated information for.
And what about table 14?
Which one's table?
That was just car trips per year.
Oh, so that one, I did get updated data from the police, but it's based off of their camera. And what happens is every time someone comes down to the ferry to drop someone off and then turns around and leaves, they get counted as a ferry trip. So their data is not totally accurate when it comes to that. So I did reach out to North and South Ferry and ask if they could provide us with how many trips people have taken back and forth in the last 2 years. So I'm waiting to get that back.
Just back on 79, the Islands Transportation Network is vulnerable to sea level rise and flooding. Yeah, this transportation section is fine here, but do we need, maybe we'll get to it on the private side. As you know, on Cheekwood Avenue, they just raised one house 8 feet to anticipate future sea level rise. Should we at least talk about the town maybe accommodating private homeowners who want to do this kind of stuff, or the need to at least think about it?
What do you mean?
Okay, so that would be.
Well, going forward, a lot more people are going to raise their houses to get out of the way of sea level rise.
Right.
So
Should it be-
But should that go in housing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, okay. I was like, how does that work
Triggered
in
the-
transportation?
No. This triggered that thought.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
okay. Now I get you. I'm connecting dots.
So in our, okay, I'm looking for a section to put that in. Okay, so under goals and recommendations. If there was a good section for that. Yeah, there's one about.
Yeah, it's somewhere in chapter 4.
Yeah, goal 4-4, ensure that new housing construction or conversions are sensitive to the natural environment, are high design and build quality consistent with general scale. So this is
Yeah, it
where,
doesn't directly,
Let's throw in,
and that's also where we
Future.
wanted to address the wetlands.
yeah,
Mhm.
wetlands and sea
Yeah,
level rise.
wetlands and sea level rise. So back on page 79, there's summary of key findings. Roadway safety remains a priority, especially for pedestrians, cyclists. The last sentence in there, however, there's a perception among some residents that speeding is a problem, that speed limits should be lowered. Did we have any
59?
on page 79? The first item.
Yeah.
Do we have any speeding ticket data? We did originally. Let's see if I've got, I know I have parking ticket data. Yeah, but I saw that, because I feel like something that's anecdotal, there's a perception that that speeding is a problem.
well, I
I'd
do
rather-
actually think it turned out to be more of a perception because with the speed cameras, you know how they have the signs that track, that tell you, hey, you're going 35 and a 20.
Mhm.
They also kind of track how many people were speeding, and when it was looked at in certain zones, it seemed like it wasn't actually as bad as people thought it was. So I'll reach back out to PD and ask if they have actual data on it. Maybe Chief knows.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like he unmuted.
We can definitely provide that data. We can provide it both ways. We can tell you how many speeding tickets we write a year, and we can look at that over a number of years. And we can also, we're actually looking at our speed data now on those cameras. Traffic engineers rely on the 85th percentile, which is what 85% of vehicles doing in certain zones, and largely people are driving the speed limit in our community. So one of the things I've heard a lot about is possibly reducing the townwide speed limit, and at some point that may warrant further investigation or further discussion with the board. What I've heard mostly is dropping it from 35 to 30.
But then that doesn't include county roads, no state roads there.
Correct. We'd have to,
Well, the
And-
state is, 114 is a state road.
Oh,
yeah,
that's,
so we
Yeah.
have to apply to them in order to lower the speed.
yeah, and Burns Road is county road.
Yeah. And
But
there is,
also there,
Streets of County Road, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple county roads and there's
few.
some.
Shore Road.
no, I
and
think,
then there are areas that it's lower than 30 already. So we don't
Yes,
want to up it.
exactly, yeah. I think that figure 5 shows the jurisdiction, but the chart is unreadable.
Yeah, I can't read that.
So-
This is
Because I think the state road is maybe red and purple is. But anyways, we need to fix this chart.
Okay.
Yeah, red is the state, blue is the county, green is the town. Purple is Deer and Harbor.
But anyways, this chart needs fixing,
Yeah,
but
that's
anyways. But for those roads, I mean, we do have that in there so people can see for what jurisdiction, but
Councilman Diet, I don't feel that we'd meet with much resistance from the county or the state if we were to try to get them to join with us in that, if we would have had down that path. But I think it warrants further discussion. I think it's suggested in the draft transportation port that I saw in a comp plan, but again, it's a tool to look at for future.
Okay. Well, this paragraph that you pointed us to, Amber. That first sentence is a bit of a tough one. Language wise. 4 lines, lots of commas.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, after fatality, you can just put a period.
Yeah, and also I don't want the comment after the end, but yeah. Good catch.
I just wrote a terrible sentence.
Yeah. Okay, put that to Coco. All right, so on page 80, figures 5 and 6, we need to get something that's crisper. And I think we may need to just blow them up on some of these island maps.
Well, we could in an appendix have them larger full page, like have them small, but maybe an appendix just have all the visuals blown up.
Yeah, we'll have to.
I mean,
check that.
this one needs to be more readable. Figure 5 is all fuzzy.
Yeah, and again, the chart for figure 6. I mean, if we're gonna have them, it's nice to have them in with it, and so if it's an extra page, but it's.
You can read it, it's readable.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
I mean, this
I
is-
think rather than flipping, I'd
Yeah.
rather see it embedded, even if it adds an extra page and then take out some pictures.
Switch to my reading glasses, see if that helps.
Put your zoomy lenses on. It didn't help me.
Yeah.
No, they're fuzzy, it's fuzzy. Anybody have anything before page 84?
On page 82, I did just want to put a clarifying statement about the bicycle and pedestrian accident chart. I'll make a new version of the chart with the added data, but just specifying that it is all pedestrian and bicycle accidents, not just pedestrian and bicycle versus vehicle. Got it. Just so people
Okay.
understand that it could also just be someone who hopped over a curb and, you know, skinned their knee. It's not always someone getting hit by a car.
Should have
On
something on
page-
84.
Yeah, on 84, the table 15, when it has the rainfall flooding exposure, at the bottom of that list, Condon Road between Route 114 and North Cartwright Road, and then has been closed twice due to flooding since 2000. None of the other roads listed had a qualifying statement, so I didn't know why there was one added here.
A bunch of them have been closed.
Yeah, I was just, we just take that out, that
Yeah.
shouldn't be there.
I just wasn't sure if there was a reason for that. When we get into the Shelter Island ferries, the hours of operation aren't accurate. It's more accurate for South Ferry. But for North Ferry, it just says hard stop 5 a.m. and midnight, 365 days a year, so it doesn't build in their summer schedule. I mean, the other, so it's.
North
84.
Ferry doesn't have a.
Have a north schedule.
Yeah, they stay the same
That's
year
normal.
round. North Ferry doesn't have an accommodating late boat.
But they do go until 12:45 on Friday and Saturday.
Well, that's new,
That's
isn't
new.
it? That's new.
It's always been that way.
Stella?
Yeah, we
Sorry, I didn't mean to go, I'm really sorry. Between Memorial Day and Labor Day, we do have a late boat that leaves from Greenport at 12:45, and last one is 1 a.m.
Oh, am I just learning about this?
Yes.
That's magical.
Stella, if you would have done that,
Saved
if
me.
you'd have done that 15 years ago, I could have not slept in my car.
I had no idea. Not off the island.
So we will get that corrected. Thank you, Stella. I love being right.
Seriously, I had never known that.
I don't know why I didn't know that.
Well, now I'm in bed that time.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get that corrected. And
Also on 85, I guess the bottom paragraph on the left, which goes up to the right, length of the rent. I mean, some of this work's been done, I think. I mean, since Stella is on,
Yeah, I think they finished.
they finished the stuff on the Shelter Island side, maybe?
we can get updates on this.
Yeah, we just update
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we won't have Stella try and give us updates on the spot. We'll circle back.
Six. For to expand shoulder. Yeah, the bicycling infrastructure, I believe Ken and the highway department are working on expanding the shoulders now.
Yeah, but it'll take a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we should, yeah, it needs buy-in from the state. All right, so it is 3:26. I say we stop just before goals and recommendations so that we can just start from there next week.
Okay. So, we wanna say, start here, on what day? It's
September 5th.
Here. September 5.
So when are you saying?
So we'll start on page 88. 88.
88.
Glasses.
It's just the page, it's fuzzy.
Yeah. So we're gonna start at goals and recommendations when we reconvene on.
When do we start? Two?
September 5th.
Thursday, yeah. Oh, I thought I heard
Yeah.
Ben say Tuesday. I was like, wait.
No, we're
What
on
are you talking about?
Thursday. After Labor Day.
Yeah, we didn't get there. We had very long public comments today, though.
Longer than anticipated.
All right, I would like a motion to go into executive session for legal advice, employment history of an employee, and contract negotiations.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.